Good morning, friends. I'm live. I've got a stream scheduled for 11:43, so I am precisely 2 minutes early. I have my tasty beverage, and I wanted to start right out today by finishing up the shot we were working on yesterday. There it is. And so we'll be looking at some of the techniques and gotchas related to ink and paint. While I'm here thinking about it, let me turn on the preview on the other screen. I do want to be cognizant. Here we go. That's what I thought. Okay. I want to be cognizant of mistakes that I may have made, and that will dovetail quite nicely into one of the comments I got this morning. And you know, it is kind of interesting that in truth, this very shot that we're looking at on the main screen right now is just a better version of this. This has happened many times, actually. It's happened many times where once you go in and draw the thing, you find out that actually there's another shot that's like completely identical. The truth of the matter is, what I should be doing on this shot is using this shot as a starting point and this background as well, and then modify these two drawings to better match the costuming, because I can see two problems. Number one, I forgot his belt. Number two, I forgot his his wrist wraps. So this is not particularly unusual. In fact, I want to give credit to Darren T. Don't know if you're out there, Darren, but Darren pointed out this morning that quite comically, like a blithering idiot, I created this shot, this whole situation, and then Golic, obviously it starts raining right here, and yet it's raining in a situation. Okay, so I'm trying to remember to stop talking if I see OBS disconnect. So just be aware, folks, without a doubt, from time to time, the live stream will freeze up. I've never seen a situation where this didn't happen with OBS. And so for now, it is what it is. So anyway, Darren pointed out that the physical infrastructure in which this is all taking place, let me see if I can find a picture of it here. So as we look earlier through the show, yeah, right here. As we look earlier through the show, we can see that the physical building is in fact a dome. It's covered. Okay, so Darren pointed out, wait a second, how is it supposed to be raining if you're indoors? And he's completely right. I mean, it's just a completely stupid mistake on my part, and Lord knows I've made plenty of them over the years. And so I appreciated him pointing that out. So now the question becomes, it's actually great. I mean, this stuff happens. I mean, when you're doing a really large project, you're going to make mistakes. So the question now becomes, well, what are you going to do about it? And there's a few options. When I envision, it's kind of funny because what I painted from the outside and what I envisioned from the inside were kind of different, actually. If we go to Tahoma, maybe I'll just put it on one of these sketches here. So we'll just grab a pencil here. And so for now, we can just erase the drawing that's underneath there, and we'll just ignore Golic for the moment. So to solve this problem, from the outside, what we have is basically this dome with a little pointed top. And so this, you could basically say that the whole amphitheater is effectively a cylinder with this sort of a little, I don't know, it's kind of inspired by like the sort of shapes you see on the dome of the Taj Mahal or whatever. Okay, so that's what I painted on the background. But when I envisioned in my mind when I was writing the thing, what these people would be experiencing from the inside, what I really saw, so now we're up in the sky right now looking down, okay? So what I really saw, so here's our cylinder that I just drew, but now I'm drawing it in perspective from above. What I really visualized was something more like this, where there actually is some roof, but basically it's an open stage, like a lot of outdoor theaters where you'll have rock concerts and things like that. That's what I actually intended. But so it's a really weird thing to recognize that the way I thought about it from outside and the way I thought about it from inside were two different things, and I just never put that together. So that's definitely a boo-boo. So I got 2 concurrent viewers. Who's out there watching? Identify yourself. Identify yourself. Could be one of my relatives is trolling me. Keep an eye and say, hey, what's Dave up to today? Okay, so this is a pretty major gaffe on my part, without a doubt. But we'll get to it. The reality is, if we go back and we're going to really fix it, all we would have to do is basically modify that background painting. I honestly don't even think we'd have to modify that one. So you're literally talking about modifying one background painting to solve the problem that was pointed out. And there might be one person in a million who's going to go, wait a second, what's this like lip on the amphitheater here? That really shouldn't be there. But you know, there's some things you address and there's some things you let go. That I would let go, this I would address. And the other option, of course, is to introduce some sort of technology that allows them to open the roof. You know, do something to open it up. And that would require probably changing this design so that there's some indication of some kind of, like I said, I'm just making this up, but some sort of technology that allows them to pull some ropes and essentially like open it up. That would be a possibility too. But at the end of the day, basically, it's a pretty easy thing to fix. So now what we're going to look at is, what do you do when you get in this situation where you realize you've done a little work and it's all fine, but actually you could have done better? Meaning, in this case, again, let me go back to here. In this case, this shot is really what we should be using for the first 2 frames of the current shot. And then we should be taking the plastic tool to move his arms and then transition to this pose that we end up on, which is basically, there's basically 2 poses like that, okay? And that saves us a lot of problems because number one, it makes everything consistent. Number 2, it saves us having to create a new background. And so here's there's many strategies we can employ here, but here's what I'm going to do. Step 1 is I'm going to delete the pencil test. That does not need to be in there, and then I'm going to go to my panels, scene cast window, and I'm going to remove all unused levels. So now if I save this, the TNZ file, the Toonz file, has no reference to the pencil test. Well, why did I do that? Well, it's basically housekeeping. Basically housekeeping. If I go back here and go to my extras folder now, so this is SL, means Salt and Light. This is the OpenToonz or Tahoma project. Many of the folders inside this folder were actually put there by Tahoma. One of those being the extras folder. So now if we scan through the extras folder, what we're going to see is that pencil test has been stored in here. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing. It's only, I shouldn't say that. It's a bad thing when you wind up storing a bunch of stuff that you don't actually need. Let me check one thing here. Okay, I'm going to hit the F5 button. And I think that's it right there. Is that it? Nope, that's not it. Where the heck is it? Okay, so now we actually have a little bit of a weirdness going on, because it looks to me, in all candor, when I brought the pencil test image sequence into Tahoma, I don't remember specifically telling Tahoma to import it. So I think what it did was it loaded it. And the difference between loading and importing is that when you import something, it actually makes a copy of it and stores it in the extras folder. Generally, that's a good thing. So it's making me question my preferences. This is a bit weird because, so let me just look at this loading. Always ask before loading or importing. All I'm thinking is, and you could go back on yesterday's live stream and check me on this, but I think what this means is that I was moving too fast, and when I brought in the image sequence yesterday, I inadvertently loaded it instead of importing it. Actually, that's a good thing. It means I don't need to clean up after myself, because that image sequence that I just deleted was in fact the rendered pencil test from this very scene. I know that sounds a little confusing, but what that means is once I ink and paint this shot, all I need to do is re-render it, and it's just going to copy over that pencil test, you know, and it'll already be in the show. So that's good. All right, so how are we going to get from here, where I'm saying that as a matter of excuse me, due diligence, I've made a mistake, because really I should be starting with this shot, not redoing all the ink and paint, particularly because I acknowledged yesterday that he's slightly off character here anyway. Okay, so this is what I would recommend if you were going to try to do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to save this level separately and give it a name that I'm going to remember. So I'll call it 588 Golek. So I'm going to go level, save level as, and as you can see, it's going to be saved in my drawings folder. That's automatic. So I'm going to call this 588 Golek. Okay, now why did I do that? Because now I can actually reload shot number 582, resave it as 588, and then drag the new ink and paint that I just saved back into that scene, resave everything, and now I've got half of my work done for today in 1 minute. That's a good thing. Okay, so just to recap, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to load 582. All right, and so we'll go 582.tnz, and that should bring up the shot that has the proper Golek. I don't care about changes because I'm actually going to overwrite this scene anyway. Okay, there it is. Now what I'm going to do is immediately save this as 588, which means the scene that I was working on yesterday is right now destroyed. That's okay. That's actually a good thing. Now half my work for today is done. All I need to do now is bring the level that I just saved separately back in, and then I can literally take the palette from this level, cut and paste these colors into the level I'm about to bring in, and then you know, now my ink and paint's going to be consistent as well. And then all we have to do is fix the costuming errors that are in the shot that I just saved. So now I'm going to go to my browser, and I'm going to go to drawings, and there it is, 588 Golek. If I double click it, you can even play it back in the browser to see what you've got. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to load it. Now if I go back to my 2D view, there it is. These first two drawings are just going to be deleted. I don't need them. Okay, and then the rest is going to be moved downstream. So I'm kind of working in reverse. I'm not really working in linear order here. Hey Claude, haven't seen you in a while, buddy. The lockdown is commonly being extended. You know what? There's some good reasons for that at this point. I've heard things are pretty crazy in Texas and some other places where the Delta variant is wreaking havoc. I have to say, from my perspective, the resistance people have to vaccination is it's just really foolish. Really, really foolish. But that's my opinion. Because the Delta variant is a bit of a problem. Okay, we can't delete that. Okay. Let's go back here. And we're going to make... Okay, so now there's one thing we do need to be careful about. And that is, we're only using this shot here for the first 2 frames. It's only there. In fact, I'll give it 3 just in case. But it's only there to give us a transition. Oh, never mind what I was about to say. Okay, what I was about to say is that his expression is wrong. He really should be annoyed. But actually, we already have a drawing in there where he is annoyed. Now, this is interesting. If we look at the... Interesting. We might actually be able to animate from this. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. This is actually quite cool. I kind of got lucky here, folks. So what I'm going to do to make it simple is I think I'll just kill the shadow layer for the moment. Yes, it's causing more harm than good. I'm just going to delete it actually. We'll deal with the shadows later. Okay, so now what I'm going to do here is get rid of these, get rid of all those. So Control X. So we're going from this to this, and then I actually want to make this number 3 as well. Okay, and that's what's going to give us the transition to this pose here that we're just going to put on a separate level. Okay? So it's a dramatic change. It's a pretty snappy bit of animation. What is this? Is this his mouth or something? Yes, this is his mouth. Okay, so that's useful, although not very. Let me see here. Yes. So I would say, and by the way, I'm going to sneeze. Hang on a sec. Sorry, guys. Good morning, whoever you are, whose name I can't say because it's in some Asian language. Hello. Okay, so, and sorry about the sneeze. I am fighting a cold right now, although today I am doing okay. Don't seem to be appreciably worse since 2 days ago, so that's good news. All right, so step 1 here is going to be to hit Control X. I hit Control X and not delete. If I hit delete, it will not ripple. What it just did was rippled it. So when I hit Control X, everything else got moved up. If you don't want to do that, which you may not, then just use the delete key. If you want it to ripple, then use Control X. Okay? Okay, so now I've got actually a different idea. I'm going to change this. I definitely am seeing where I want to change this. I actually like this quite a lot. So what I'm going to do is go, I'm going to have him actually, I think I'm going to do 2 frames of this. So I'm going to hit Control X here. As you can see, even if it's a blank frame, if you hit Control X, everything will be rippled up. So I'm going to have him go like this. And I actually like the way his expression is opening up. So what he's going to do is he's going to say, "Do you see?" And then he's going to turn sideways and say, "Do you see?" a second time, which is what's in the script. Thank you, my good anime production class. I'm glad you feel that way. Thank you. That's really, I'm not really trying to do a class per se, but I'm just trying to show the real world process of cranking out a show. So this is good. So now he's going to go like this, and he's going to say, "Do you see?" which means, I would say we'll stretch this out to here. What is this expression here? Let me pop this back up here so I can see what that is. Yeah, I mean, okay. We could actually put the 4th one in there. So I'm going to go take these columns out, or these cells. Okay, so what happens is he says, do you see?" And then he turns sideways. Okay, and as you can see also, by the way, we're going to have to modify the size of this drawing a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see that. It'd probably be easier if this was less opaque. And then, of course, we need to make this less opaque as well. So that at least lets us see what we're doing. So he says, "Do you see?" Boom. "You see? I beseech the rains on your behalf." Okay, so this is, I like what I'm seeing here. Okay, so now this is This is all cell animation. In other words, I'm not planning to use the plastic tool, so we can go ahead and use the Animate tool to sort of get this repositioned and resized. The reason I mention that, importantly, is that if you use the plastic tool, which is what I was going to do here, and I don't think I need to, honestly, but if you use the plastic tool to deform your character, you cannot then continue to just draw on in the X sheet. So you can't just grab a cell and start drawing. Once you apply the plastic tool, you would have to go back to the drawing strip, to the actual source material, and modify it there, if that's what you want to do. Not true with the Animate tool. If you just animate, translate, scale, move things around, it's fine. You don't have to worry about, you can still draw into it even if it's rotated or whatever. Okay, thanks for the thumbs up. Okay, so I just slid this up one frame so that these two are overlapped, and the reason I did that, it's kind of like onion skinning. The idea is that I want to hit the Animate tool and just be able to reposition this a little more intelligently. Okay, I don't know, I think maybe I'll want to scale it a little bit. Probably about like that. And the cool thing is, of course, I can always change my mind. Now, I think when he shifts this way, his body should probably actually shift slightly to stage left. His right, obviously. Okay. Now that that's fixed, we can move this here, and then we can always readjust it by just changing this one animation key. Okay? So now that we're here, we've got a couple things we need to fix. We forgot his belt. So question number one is, does that matter? Yeah, it matters. It definitely matters. Okay, so let's fix it real quick. Here's what we're going to do. We're actually just going to make a hole for his belt. And I think we'll fix it here and then just cut and paste it, actually. So that's easy enough. Let's zoom in. And I'm just going to go like this. And I do want to kind of refer back to the previous drawing. It looks like it needs to be up even higher. So how about that? So I'm using the arrows because I can't use the greater than, lesser than, or comma, period, to toggle between keyframes because they're on separate levels. Now the truth of the matter is, you may not know this, but what you can do, if you wanted to, is I could actually take this and put it in the same column, even though it's actually referring to two different TLV levels. You can do that to whatever degree you want. Sometimes it's a really good idea. If I was gonna apply the plastic tool to Golic, it would make a lot of sense to just put them on a single column. And then as we observed a couple, hey Maria, as we observed a couple weeks ago, it turns out that if you put your character in a sub scene, you collapse it into a sub scene so it's nested. Then if you apply the plastic tool, actually what OpenToonz or Tahoma does is it goes through and applies a different mesh to every single frame, which means you can actually have a cell animated sequence that you're modifying with the plastic tool. For most of you probably right now, that sounds like a bunch of mumbo jumbo and you don't even know what the heck I'm talking about. Probably, I'm guessing. It's not relevant yet, but there are other videos where we get into the plastic tool, that's for sure. So right now, can you make a complete 2D animation video with one OpenToonz program? Hey Darren, I commented this morning on your I don't know if you watched the beginning, but basically your thing about the background I sort of talked about. Okay, to answer the question, I think if I understand this person, right, this person's not a native English speaker, so I'm pretty sure I understand the question. And the question is, can you make an entire animated 2D show with OpenToonz? And to which I would say, absolutely. This show, there's a lot of stuff in this show that was done with Krita, but this is a 24-minute episode, and gosh, for this episode, the vast majority of, I don't know, I would say it's about half and half, probably. But lately I've been using OpenToonz, so the answer is absolutely yes. You can create an entire show with OpenToonz. No question about it. It's a lot of work. Well, you didn't miss anything, Darren. I was just recapping what you said, and I pointed out that it looks to me like there's literally one background painting that would have to be modified to solve it. So, so we're going from this to this, and what we need to do here is just get the belt in the right position. So let's just go ahead and extend this down one frame. Okay, that makes it easier. And then what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to smack a line over there and smack a line there, just so I can see what I'm doing. And now I know where his belt actually needs to be. All right, so we'll, whoopsie poo, sorry about that. I'm on the wrong level. And because I'm moving fast, I'm going to save my work. Maria's out there going, yeah, Dave, you might want to think about that. What kind of story is your great animation? What kind of story? I'm not quite sure what you're asking. If you're asking about the genre, I would call it a, well, I mean, I hate to always say this because I'm not trying to copy Avatar: The Last Airbender, but in terms of genre and like what kind of story it's a lot like Avatar: The Last Airbender. You know, there's not much magic, frankly, but there is, you know, you're talking about a small group of young people that are on a quest. So it's a drama that has a fair amount of comedy involved as well. So mainly it's a adventure drama, I would say. It's probably a fair way to put it. If anybody else has a opinion about how I could better explain that, please feel free to weigh in the comments. Now, this can just be deleted. There's no reason to keep it around. And what we'll do is we'll just go like this, and that takes care of his garment. Okay, so cool. Now what I can do is hit the S key, grab all of this, Control C, go to this drawing, hit the E key and erase everything. Then hit the S key and paste it back in. Looks like I guessed right as far as how much to chop out, so that turned out well. Okay. Now there's a couple other things that need to be fixed. E key. So what I'm going to do is just take this out. Judging from this, I think it's pretty tight. Yeah, it is pretty tight. Okay, so this really kind of speaks back to what I was saying about the background. I mean, the reality is it's just going to happen. Now, if you're careful about doing character sheets, character models, if you want to say, if you're careful, you certainly can avoid making mistakes like this. I tend to get moving too fast and wind up having to go back and fix things. So pick your poison. So in this case, all I need to do is just change this so that he has the cuffs, and then we need to do the same thing over here. So there's kind of two ways to do it. One would be to say, well, it's got really strict borders, so just draw the border and then go in and make it work. Like so. That should be a little cleaner. This should be crisper. And there we go. So that costuming problem wound up getting fixed in a matter of moments. Okay, over here I'm going to just hit the G key and sample this because I want to see which one of these gold colors it is. Okay, so it's this one. So now I should be able to, okay, we're in freehand mode. Let's change that to normal. Okay, boom, 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 boom. Now we can start getting into flesh tone, and hopefully nothing's too confusing. Oh, hey, no problem, Darren. No problem. Always good to have you around as long as you can be. Alright, and I'm just going to go in and start cleaning things up and filling things in. No big deal. So this is the real world process of ink and paint. I'm going to hit the N key so I can see things at their proper size. And again, I'll just come back here, hit the G key to sample. And by the way, I don't think the G key is actually the original hotkey, so don't quote me on the whole G key thing. But for me, the R key samples an RGB color value, and the G key is the style picker tool. So as you can see right there, you probably can't see it, but the native hotkey is K. I changed that because I like having the L button and the K button right next to each other for rewind and playback. So that's just, so like I said, don't quote me on the hotkeys. But so style picker, it's this color. Go back here. There it is. Fill tool. Da da da. Da da da. Alright. Boom. Boom. And I'm just going to keep following this through like that. Okay. So there's his main costume. And you can see we've got a leak there on the belt. That's okay. We'll fix that shortly. Yes, the belt was this color. So you have to zoom in and see where the leak is. I think it's right. Okay, stop everything. Hit undo. I was on the wrong frame. And it auto-created. So sorry about that. Fill tool. There we go. And by the way, another thing you might want to be aware of is I could fix all this in this drawing, and if I cut and paste, if I use the selection tool, I can literally cut and paste the whole thing over this to fix any problems. I actually see another problem. Let me check something. Yes. Okay. Yeah, we have another mistake. It happens. I'm going to hit the B key, and we need to extend this down because his tassels actually do, of course, obviously flow under the belt. And I think we can leave that, I don't know, I guess I'll give it that much. Okay? So now again, I'm hitting the G key to sample. It looks like it's, to my surprise, I thought it was going to be this color, but it's not. So that's the color. Fill tool, boom, 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 boom. And yes, so the center, the center part would be this color. Fill that. And now this is what I was saying. You could go ahead and grab all of this. Control C. And here, nothing's changed. So, well, you can see the mistake I made. Let's do that again. I'll just grab this whole thing. Because the only thing that changed between the two frames is his forearms, basically. So Control C. Control V. Okay. Cool. And now I'm pretty sure this is the other. Yes. The other yellow color. So this is going to be Fill Tool, F key. Boom. Okay. There's one more thing. Who knows when, Darren? Who knows when? Okay, now I'm going to hit the V key and use the Smart Raster Paint tool to just hand paint his eyes. Like so. Sorry, by the way, for the sniffling. I know it's obnoxious. At least I'm pretty sure it is. Okay. Now, my suspicion is that, to my absolute delight, I think we've actually got this pretty close to correct. Now, there's one thing I want to do while I'm thinking about it. I'll bet you the output settings are wrong. Yep, that's a problem. This needs to be 588, not 582. Always update your output settings so you don't overwrite your old scene. And by the way, this is supposed to be JPEG. Okay? So now I can actually save and render. And what should happen is when I jump over to the show edit, this should update automatically because I already rendered it and cut it into the show. So I'm just waiting now for Tahoma. As you can see, for whatever reason, I couldn't even tell you why, but for whatever reason, this particular render is taking a little longer than usual. Could be because of the post-production effects. Just resaved it as 588. Oh, looks like OBS just disconnected and reconnected. Let's see if this works. Okay, so this is still the pencil test. I'm going to literally take this out completely. Give me half a second to sort of clean things up. Tools, clean project media. I'm just going to re-import this. Oh, I see what I did. Yes. This is all erroneous. Because when I rendered it yesterday, I inadvertently did something I've very rarely done, which is accidentally saved it in the root folder for the scene, which is 588, instead of putting it in a subfolder called render. Now that's fixed. Therefore, everything's cool. 588 can be cut into the show, and there it is. Alright, properties. Okay, so now I'll jump back to here so you can get the big view. So this is the problem that Darren T pointed out, is that how in the world is it raining if they're in a domed amphitheater that's covered, right? So obviously none of these shots present the problem, because obviously you could be in the domed amphitheater. I mean, you know, we can't see the dome, so all it is a matter of, hey, golden slime. So it's just a matter of changing the roof. Okay, so that looks good. We're going to have to put the effects on this sequence. So coming back to here. Excuse me. As stated, I am fighting a cold after I told this story yesterday. After exercising an abundance of caution since February of 2020. Haven't had a sniffle other than a little allergy stuff, seasonal allergies. And then after being on an airplane with a woman who had a kid that was coughing the entire trip, literally in the seat in front of me. And his kid's like 4 years old, ripping his mask off. He's hardly ever got the mask on. I mean, it was just like, really, people? That's what you're going to do? That's what you're going to do? Okay, okay, that's what we're doing. Stupid, 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 stupid. Now, I don't know if that's why I have a cold. May not be. You'd think it'd take a little longer for the cold to manifest than roughly 6 hours. But, I mean, it just started to come on after 6 hours. It really fully showed up the next day. So it could have been because of the kid. I hope not, because, frankly, I don't really want that cough. Let's see here. Hey, Ashnan. Haven't seen you in a while. So what we want to do is go to the effects schematic. And if we look at the effects schematic, you can see it's definitely confusing. Using my mouse, my middle mouse key, by the way, to drag this around. Okay. Let's just look at this for a minute. So yeah, we got a lot of processing going on here. Blurs and here's the body highlight effect. So hang on one second. Jeez, I thought for sure I was going to sneeze. So I'm putting this in previewed mode so I can look at this and just see if this is what I think it is. Yes, okay, so that's the body highlight effect. And it looks to me... oh, I see. This is unnecessary now. The internal shadows that I hand drew, I got rid of for this shot. I don't think they're that important. So there's a couple ways we could do this. We could copy the body highlighting effect so that it shows up on this guy, or we could actually comp column 3 and column 5 together. So that would be like this. You'd go over, layer blending, over, and then just combine these two guys together. Then get rid of this. So they basically get stacked together into a single pipeline and then go through the body highlighting effect. When you do stuff like that, the thing to keep in mind is you're overriding the normal stacking order, because OpenToonz and Tahoma, the rule is everything to the left is on the bottom of the stack and everything to the right is on the top of the stack. But you can do anything you want in the schematic and completely override the way that the your columns are stacked. So anyway, that was all it took, as you can see. So we're going to go from this to this, and let's just re-render it, and then we just need to deal with lip sync, and the whole darn thing is complete. Hey Amar, it's been a good long time, buddy. Good to see you. Okay, so let's just see how it flows. Let's go back here. I guess we'll go back and give ourselves a little bit of context here. So there's Golik trying to talk about the wedding, but then he gets interrupted. Hey, what are you going to do about these taxes, you lousy creep? Yeah, how are we supposed to pay? Now, the king has heard you. Don't worry. We love you. Blah, blah, blah. Well, what are you going to do about it? Is kind of the idea. And then Golik notices that the rain is falling, and he decides to turn it into magic, basically. Behold, I beseech the rains on your behalf. Finally, we're going to get over this... we're finally going to get over this drought that we've had for 20 years. And it's all because of who? Me. That's what Golik basically saying. I don't remember what the dialogue is, and I don't want to look it up at this moment. So that's what's going on in the story. It's pretty cool. He's basically, it's kind of funny that I'm kind of known as a creator of faith-based films, and yet in this show I'm really kind of criticizing what I would call magical thinking, because it's the bad guy that's basically manipulating the crowd, basically saying that, however you want to say it, the Lord or the universe or nature or the rains themselves have listened to my prayer, which I prayed on your behalf. So he's using magical thinking to portray himself as the hero, opportunistically seizing the moment to manipulate the people with essentially an expression of religion. And it's my personal contention that usually when someone presents you with magic in order to get you to behave in a certain way, usually the whole point is to manipulate you. It's usually about power and control. It's not about what is true, usually. Maybe all the time, but certainly most of the time. That's my opinion. Others may have a big problem with it, especially if they come from a very dyed-in-the-wool, a magical paradigm. Most religions do have an element of what one could call magic. That's not really a term of derision. It just means anything that's supernatural or that basically I've never seen it happen. Like I've never seen someone rise up into the air and ascend into the heavens. I've never seen that happen. I've never seen somebody lay hands on somebody and have them get healed. I've seen people try it zillions of times, and I've certainly seen the placebo effect in action. But as far as a verifiable, documentable bit of magic, I've never seen it in my life, ever. And as I did say in one of the films I produced, never underestimate the power of a coincidence. Anyway, Darren Golik says, behold the rain. You zoom out, you could zoom out further and see the edges of the half dome. Well, that's a good point, Darren, but there's no reason to do that. If the one background painting that I don't think you were here when I showed this, but basically the bottom line is if we go way back to the beginning of this episode, let me see where it is. If we go back to this episode and scan the whole thing, you can follow the whole storyline through, and what you discover is literally that's it right there. That's it. There's one painting in the whole show that shows an actual dome. Believe it or not. Only happened one time. Now you could be really picky and say that it's hinted at here because you can just faintly see the red, right? But basically, the audience is not going to be thinking about whether this is a closed dome or not, because we never show the closed dome anywhere during the wedding, actually. We just show the inside of the amphitheater. So is there a ceiling? Frankly, the implication throughout this part of the show that I'm working on is that it is not covered. Why? Because look at the light. Look at what's happening with the light. It's clear that the sun is shining down into this situation. Now you could argue that, well, if that's the case, maybe the background should be slightly lighter, maybe, or even a gradient on it to sort of allow some of the sunlight to bleed out or bounce off the floor in essence. But basically, there's a light source. Well, how the hell is there a light source if there's no ceiling? I mean, if there's a ceiling, right? So as far as the overall look of the shots within this sequence, we don't have a problem. Okay, so my contention would be we're not going to worry about it. The open area would be half again higher up above where you can see in this screen. The real problem, actually, if there's going to be something you're really going to criticize in these shots, it would be that I haven't put in the population yet. There's supposed to be people here, you know, kind of in the foreground. That's not going to take long to do, but there, you know, we need some indication of the humanity in the. Yeah, Maria, it's about 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And then, as I've said, and Darren and I were chatting about a little bit this morning offline, is then we're going to be looking at going through and doing fixes. So at this point, what we need to do to keep forging ahead with the current shot instead of just like blabbing forever is we need to deal with the lip sync. So he says, do you see? And then he says it again. I'm going to look at the script on my other. Okay, so the way this is actually supposed to play, let me just take my time here and think about what I'm doing. 24 minutes, right? That's correct, Amar. Amar is AWAB is a guy named Amar, in case anybody's wondering about that. I don't think Amar minds me revealing his first name. Anyway, okay, so what actually happens in the story is he says, do you see? Do you see? And the people are like, what's he talking about? So this is a bit wrong. His hand should be down probably. Because they haven't kind of noticed that the raindrops are happening yet, right? So that means, so again, I'm just talking this through for your enrichment and my own, is if we go back to this shot, once we have this happen here, where we see the raindrops happening, this shot, 581, does need to be modified so that we have an animated accumulation of raindrops on the floor. That I had planned to do that and just haven't gotten to it yet. While I'm at it, I probably should put some shadows under these people. That would drive home the idea that there is, in fact, a light source from the sun coming from overhead. So, okay. So yeah, Amar, correct. I have almost 48 minutes. Right now I have 45 minutes of animation done, roughly. So, 2 episodes. As I mentioned yesterday, an exclusive deal with a particular streaming media platform that you guys may or may not have heard of. It's a small one. Looks like it's probably a no-go, so that means we're probably going to be launching into a crowdfund. Hopefully with the avid support publicly of my film distributor, who, as I've also mentioned, has 500,000 YouTube subscribers, and hopefully that'll help. And you know, we can do like an Indiegogo thing, and I would hope, you know, maybe be able to underwrite the whole episode, or the whole series of 12 episodes. And if that happens, I'm going to just be busy doing what I'm doing for the next 4 years. You know, that's the plan. So that would be wonderful. I mean, I would enjoy it, and you know, the money's not half bad. You know, it's just a good deal all the way around for the most part if we can make it happen. So when it comes down to it, if you guys can help me get the word out, I'll definitely be leaning on you guys to help me out if you're willing to. I don't mean help out financially either in the sense of giving, more in the standpoint of just get the word out. You know, we really need to get some critical mass awareness here. So anyway, so we need to put the lip sync in on this part of the shot. I was looking at the script. He says, do you see twice? So I'm not going to have him say, I've beseeched the rains on your behalf. Well, actually, Amar, it's even a little better than that. Most of, because remember, the first year, but you're right, I basically started toying around with animation in 2018. So the first year and a half or so, I was working on a completely different project, and that was the Akari anime thing that Valerie was sort of writing. We were sort of making it up as we went along. I really would like to come back to that too, actually, at some point. So this show has really only been in process since about November of 2019. It's really about, yeah, it's a year and a half, probably a year and a half. And I do not think my pace is impressive by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I think it's pretty mediocre. I would like to think, going forward, that I will be able to more consistently hit that mark of 15 seconds a day of finished animation. So anyway, here we go. I'm just going to start adding. Actually, you know what I could do here? This is an interesting idea. Let's do this. I'm going to sneeze hard. Sorry. Stupid cold. Okay. What if let's drag this over here. So we're pulling the drawing from the same level. So this is actually the level being exposed in two different columns. And the only reason I'm doing it that way is so I can then take the Animate tool. We'll just center that on his mouth and then just position it over here like that. And then we'll also rotate it like that. And now what we should be able to do is actually just double the lip sync like so. And sorry for the sniffing, guys. I'm really trying to get the... Actually, I'm going to change this to 2. So I'm hitting the Q key. And I'm going to stretch that down. And then this should then transition to the closed mouth like that. So I think this works. So if you want to reuse your assets like the mouth, like I'm doing here, but you're going to be modifying it to fit a different drawing, just put it in a different column and then use the Animate tool to move it into position. And now I just reused all of my lip sync shapes, which again enforces consistency. Okay? I think it's working. All right, I'm looking at the comments real quick. Once I get the... Would love to see a blooper of something you've done so far. I'm assuming, Soda Pop, that you're actually talking to Amar there. Yeah, Amar's... I think he's been working primarily in Blender, as he says, with a 2.5D approach. I don't know if that's grease pencil or... 2.5D means essentially 2D animation like I'm doing, but you're always operating in a 3D environment like you would do in Blender. You can do that in OpenToonz or Tahoma by simply moving your levels around in 3D space, right? So I haven't done that, but here you can see that we could certainly put in camera moves with parallax and all the rest by simply taking levels and hitting the Animate tool, and then I hit Control and just move them in Z space, right? That's always available to you in OpenToonz. I venture to say most people probably don't do it that much. They probably just operate in 2D space. But pick your poison, people. You know, it's all there for you if you want to use it. So now what I'm going to do is just kill this and render it. And let's just pop into the show and kind of see what we've got going here. So I'm going to come back here. Right. Yep. Well, you know, something to What If series. I'll have to check that out, Amar. I'm not familiar. Okay. And by the way, another thing we want to bear in mind, there's a couple things we need to sort of fix up here as a matter of consistency. Let's look back at this shot. Okay, yeah, you can see that the outlines here are sort of a charcoal color, whereas here they're actually black. So that's a bit of a problem. Okay, so I'm going to go here. And what I'm going to do is actually just go like this. Okay, so I smacked it to red just so I could make sure I had the right palette entry. Okay, and then here, so I'm kind of checking that color, which is essentially black pushed up to a value of 33. So now we should be able to go here. And in this case, this is not the outline color. This is. So this needs to be pushed up to a value of 33 to make a match. There we go. And then the other thing is, let me see about the mouth. Seems to me the mouth feels a little dark-ish. Okay, that's kind of unusual. What I did, it appears, is I colored the mouth. Usually I don't do this. I made the mouth semi-transparent, or I'm sorry, I tried to match the color. Normally what I do with mouths is I actually make them black, but then I just turn down the opacity so that you just basically get some of the flesh tone bleeding through. That seems to work pretty well. In this case, it's 123. Okay, we'll go with 123. So I'm going to come over here, and as you can see, because this level with the mouth is actually split between two columns, when I go to this column, you can see that the color has already been changed. So they're sharing a palette, just in case you wondered. Now I could, of course, drag this over to here if I wanted to, since the Animate tool is invoked here, so all these cells up north aren't going to be affected. So that's that. So now the overall color should look a little better. Let's see what we got. Do you see? Do you see? Yep. And then it jumps to the crowd saying, what's he talking about? All right, so I'm just making a quick editorial change here, just changing the length here so that it was too long. Okay, so we got this. So I think he says behold. I literally stole this shot from, it's literally the earlier shot just duplicated. So I'm looking at the comments right now. Yeah, I've heard Soda Pop that the integration of 3D and even like I think like no native, because you know the guys that own Clip Studio Paint I think also own Poser now, I think, and so yeah, the integration with 3D characters. You know, my problem with that is that for an explainer video or something that is like an animatic to demonstrate to the client, for example, in a commercial concept or context, what you're intending to do, that integration of like Poser and Clip Studio Paint or even in Blender is very useful. However, my caveat would be that I have never one time ever seen an animation that basically used Poser type models that actually looked good or would ever survive as like a broadcast show. Like, I've never seen anything, because it's almost like the worst of game animation typically is what it looks like way behind some of the latest games that have come out in the last even probably up to 5 years. I just haven't seen it. It may be out there. Maybe somebody's using Poser to construct some sort of actual narrative show kind of thing that's good, but I've never seen it, not even once that I can ever remember. So if you know better than me, feel free to correct me and tell me where to look to find that, because it would be kind of interesting. But I made the decision quite a while ago that I'm just not really doing the 3D thing anymore, unless I have to for the purpose of, you know, camera moves and things like that. But nope, I'm gonna draw. So he says, do you see, do you see? And one thing that's giving me a little grief here is it looks to me like his head, okay, yeah, I see what's going on. This is a little strange. It looks to me like his head is probably using this color for ink. Nope, it's not. What the heck's going on here? Why? So this palette entry, which is obviously a My Paintbrush, isn't even being used. So my question is, what the heck is the color of this outline? Because I guess it is the same color. It doesn't look the same to me. It looks a little darker. I'm going to hit the G key and sample that. And look at that. It's telling me it's color 0. Okay, guys. Here's what I need to do. Okay, so we've got a problem where because of some either cutting and pasting or reusing the scene or something, for some reason, OpenToonz is confused, actually Tahoma, is confused about the color being used for the outlines on his face. And I think that's because in an earlier scene or at some point in history, the face and the body were on two different levels. I'm going to show you right now how to fix that. It's really easy. Here's what you do. Okay, so we've got this nice charcoal outline on his body, but it appears that his head and face are wrong. Here's what we do. Number one, let's find the color that we want. So I'm going to hit the G key and grab that. And as you can see, okay, it's that. Okay, now that is weird. That is weird. I guess I'm wrong. That's funny. I swear I was almost sure that the face was a different color. So it seems to be an illusion. Actually, what was this? 33, I thought. Something like that. I guess it's an illusion because that is using the same palette. If you guys don't know what's going on right now, sorry to confuse you. Now I see something I want to fix as well. Yeah, this is a little sloppy there. Okay, let's just do a little cleanup. I'm going to hit the V key so I can use the what OpenToonz calls the paintbrush tool and what Tahoma calls the smart raster paint tool. It's the same tool. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to be lines and areas. So that I can just go boop like that and just actually draw right over the outlines like that. Just paint over everything, just fix it. Okay. How's Zuko doing? How you doing, Zuko? Zuko's he's sitting on a microphone stand and he's watching Joseph Lai anime, which is like the worst anime in the history of the world. Some of the stupidest anime ever made was by this guy named Joseph Lai. It's so bad it's funny, you know. The quintessential example for me was a show called it was a show called Defenders of Universe. Not Defenders of the Universe, just Defenders of Universe. It was so dumb, and I think one year, like 10 years ago or something, it was like a DVD in the dollar store. It was like a stupid Christmas present, something you could stuff in a stocking, right, just for fun. And it was so dumb, it was funny. Like one guy does all the voices, and he's got a really awful voice. He doesn't even have it's not even close to good, you know. It's like really, really, really bad. So it's fun. Okay, I see what's going on. Okay, the boo-boo was that this level was done in pencil mode. I see what's going on. We need to make sure we add anti-aliasing here. Let's look at this. Okay, it looks like the anti-aliasing is there. Same thing on the mouth. It looks to me like level settings. Add anti-aliasing. Usually when I do it, I add 100. Okay, so now you see how sharp the mouth is, but when we render it, it's all soft now. Now let's see if that's true on all of it. And it is. So now, as you can see also, the level settings on the mouth does seem to be shared between these two levels. Yep. Okay. So under the hood, these are being treated almost as if they were a single level, actually. Save all. Okay, so now let's render it and see what we've got. Hope this is making sense for you guys, 'cause I know I'm moving kind of fast and blah, blah, blah. I will say that the drawing on Joseph Lai's animations are actually not too bad. His character drawing, some of it's a little excuse me, a little sloppy, but okay. All right, couple more tweaks, and then I think I'm going to close out this session. What I'm looking at is right here. I think we need to be a little bit bolder with our outlines. So I'm going to hit the G key to sample this. And again, oh, I see what's going on. Okay, it's not grabbing. Huh. Okay, so this is 35. And look at that, that's the wrong color. This is one of the risks you do run when you're Yeah, there we go. When you're sharing assets, you know, and you're cutting and pasting palettes and things like that, it can be a little confusing. Like which color is the outline? Is it this one or this one? And being mildly dyslexic, this is where being mildly dyslexic bites me in the butt in a big way. Like just a moment ago, you guys saw me figure out which one it is, and then the minute I went to do it and started talking to you guys, I forgot. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the second one. Nope. See, I got it backwards. So bizarre. Yeah. It does not do me any good to be dyslexic. I'm not very dyslexic, but I'm definitely somewhat dyslexic, and I never really realized that. I've never been diagnosed either. It's just been really obvious to me in the way I sort of flip things and whatnot. Okay. Okay, and while we're here, why don't we... I'm going to hit the V key. No, I'm not. Well, I guess I could. Let's do lines and areas and just cover this up. I mean, this is obviously a little bit unbalanced. And so I just want to fix that. That's better. Yep. Always flip your canvas. You could label the colors. Thank you, Sifter. Translation. Dave, why not label the colors, dummy? Yeah. Yeah. That is a good idea, actually. Okay, so now we've actually got another problem here because I darkened this stuff up. So now what I need to do is just grab this part of his face that I corrected. Control C. And then if I go to the next frame, you will see that I can go Control V and it just pastes in, copies over it, and now we're good to go. So Control Shift R, which by the way does not save all. So I'm going to go back here, and I think I'm pretty close to done on this shot. Yeah, I like it. I like it. I think we're in good shape. The couple little caveats are that number one, we need to add the raindrops to well, quite a few shots. So I think what I'll do is let's go ahead and add the raindrops to this one. That'll be an interesting little exercise. So this is shot number 581. So let's just look at, and I'm looking over at the edit screen. You guys are seeing the big screen, but all right, so he sees the rain. Behold! Do you see? Do you see? And they say, oh, what the hell is he talking about? I beseech the rain on your behalf, and they've heard your pleas, or something to that effect. Okay, so what do we need to do? Let's go back to Tahoma, and what we're going to do is let's put in the raindrops. File, save all, and I'm going to close out this shot. We've already got it cut into the show, and I want to pull up number 581. So we'll wait for Tahoma to finish saving. And now we're kind of into bonus material here because I hadn't intended to do this, but what the heck. So let's go back to 581. And the way we're going to do it is we're just going to create a new level. Probably makes sense to use a vector level because I just want to draw closed shapes, really. So you'll see what I'm talking about here in half a sec. So what I'm going to do is go B key. All right. And then I'm going to just keep hitting D so that it's going to keep adding to it. D. Oopsie poo, that did not fill properly. Oh, that's bad. Well, actually, maybe not. Actually, that might be okay. D key. And I'm going to add 2 right there. D key. just kind of making it random. That one kind of was wrong, but we'll let it go. Now what we're going to do here is now there's two ways we could do it. We could change the transparency of the raindrops with the palette, or we could change it with the level. I prefer to, I won't get into the details, but basically it's more controllable if you do it through the level. So you go into your scene settings and make sure that this is checked, which it already is. So that means I should be able to take this and reduce the transparency or the opacity about to there. And now I'm pretty sure we could probably just dive in and render this. Now the thing that's going to be wrong is we're not seeing the rain fall. So that's something we have to either address separately or not. And I would say in this case probably not. Okay, not bad. Not bad. It all goes by pretty fast, that's for sure. But that's true of this entire sequence. His mouth is too dark right there, by the way. So let's just take a look. So the rain's falling. Rain? You know, I'm kind of tossed. It would probably be better if we show the rain falling, I suppose. So that's fine. We'll do it. Why not? So we're going to do that. We won't be showing this raindrop, but what we need to do, what we'll do is we'll draw raindrops or rain falling, and then we'll time shift it. We'll take the whole column and move it up one frame so that, well, you'll see what I mean here in half a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to save my work, save all. Okay, this raindrop was already there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is hit the B key, waiting for Tahoma to save. So, okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go like that. All right, and now I'm going to make this white because otherwise it's going to be hard to see. We can always adjust that. Okay, and then here we're going to make a duplicate. So hit the D key. Sorry, that's wrong. My bad. It's not a duplicate. It's just a fresh drawing. Like that. We don't want the duplicate because obviously the raindrops don't sit there. So all I want to know is where are the raindrops landing. And then as I said, we will then just time shift it so it makes sense. Okay, so that one kind of landed there. Okay, so now all we have to do is take this and move it up one frame. At least I'm pretty sure this will work. Okay, and you know, you can see this is where 8 frames a second kind of works against you a little bit. I wonder if number one, the white is obviously too bold. So I think I just want to hint like so. Oh, I see what the problem is. I'm sorry. Here's my mistake. All these extra frames need to be deleted. I'm sorry, that was stupid. Okay. We only want the lines of rain falling to be for one frame a piece. Okay, so this should probably work. Yeah, see, look, there you go. Look at that. Isn't that cool? All right, so now what we want to do is probably lighten this even a little bit more. And then my sense is that that feels about right. And then I think we want to blur it. So let's call this rainfall. Label it. And then let's go. Where is rainfall? Rainfall, where are you? There it is. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add a blur. And this is going to be a very, very slight blur. 45 pixels, definitely not what we want. Let's just do like 3 pixels. Very, very slight blur. All right. And so now I'm going to render that, and I'll bet you it's going to look pretty good. Let's go back here, and let's see what we have. You know, I mean, I think we're okay. Now, those white lines might be a little bit bold. Like, they're still a little too opaque, I think, but basically I think we're getting there pretty readily here, folks. So I'm going to lower this even more and just re-render. Okay, as you can see, the rendering is really fast. I like it. I like it. I think we're in good shape. Okay, so now the case could be made. We could argue that actually this rain. Excuse me. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry. This rain could be used as a loop on other scenes. So watch what I'm going to do now. I'm going to do save all. So now we know that in the drawings folder we have a TLV file called, well, it might not be called rainfall, come to think of it. That's what it's called on the X sheet, but the actual level, let me look at the level settings. Okay, its name is OA, which is stupid. I'm going to go level, save level as rainfall. So frankly, I don't know if Tahoma is going to now convert this to rainfall.tlv or if I'm actually creating a duplicate. I don't even know. Let me look here at the level settings. Okay, it is referencing the rainfall TLV. So why did I do that? Well, now I can go to this shot and watch how easy this is. I'm going to go File, Save All, again, just to be safe. And I'm going to pull up 588 in half a second when Tahoma's done thinking. And we're just going to take the rainfall level and put it over top of the next scene. And then at that point, if we want, we can change the order. We can mix this up, run it in reverse, pack them closer together so it looks like the rain is starting to pick up and get faster. Whatever we want to do, right? So there is you're right, Soda Pop. I mean, honestly, the particle node for rain is pretty good as far as particles go. For what I'm doing here, all it's going to do is give us waste a half hour of fiddling around to sort of dial it in, combined with the fact that it'll probably be less performant in terms of render. In this case, the way I'm doing it, just hand tooling my particles, if you will, is probably the better choice, I think. So I'm going to stick with that for the moment. Open recent scene file, 588. And then as described, all I'm going to do is go to the browser and look for the letter R, which is probably going to be towards the end of the alphabet-ish. Actually, just south of the center. And there's S's, and there's R's. There it is, rainfall.tlv. And I'm going to load it. Boom. Go back here, and oh, it stuck it over here. Okay, so this is kind of interesting, actually. So what it did was, yeah, that makes sense. So I think I'm going to leave it like that. Should we maybe put it on 2s? We can just do reframe on 2s and then hit Control-C, Control-V a couple times and re-render. Control-Shift-R. And now I bet you a couple bucks that this is going to look pretty good. Now, not bad. I kind of want the... Yeah, I don't want it on... I think we should actually have this rain picking up faster. You don't have to put in the comments, Darren, you don't have to put rain, not train. Okay, we all know you meant rain. Yeah, it's all just opinion. I mean, it's all good. Control X. So I'm gonna let a couple of these remain as on 2s, but for the most part, I'm gonna go ahead and smack this back onto 1s. The idea is that the rain is definitely picking up. So here, I'm just gonna take all these back out. But Soda Pop makes a good point because I mean I've looked. It was actually just a couple of weeks ago. I went through and kind of started looking at all the particle effects, and the ones that are designed to be time savers like rain and snow and falling leaves. what I'm trying to say is that the particle effects in OpenToonz and Tahoma, you could almost use any particle system to create any kind of particle effect. So essentially, the particle effects that are render particles, like bubbles, falling leaves, I think if you go in and customize these, you can pretty much make them each do pretty much what the others are doing. So but these are good presets. So here we have rain, you know, and I'm not going to fiddle with it now. I actually used, I think the bubbles one, I can't remember, but I used the bubbles one to do a flocking effect where I had birds, you know, flying in a shot I did a couple months ago. So it's all good. All right, so the one thing I do want to do though is get that blur back in there. So where's my rainfall? Where is it? Oh, it's column 7 in this case. So there's column 7. Okay, that wasn't supposed to happen. Do. And again, I'm just going to add a blur that's going to be a plain old blur of 3 pixels. And then the other thing I'm thinking here is I think I want to zoom in on it so that the raindrops are a little bit bigger on the screen. I'm thinking I like that. Now, you could argue whether I should actually be showing some dots from the rain showing up behind him. I think I probably should. If we're going to do that, we're going to want to do it here. So let's do it. What the heck? Save all. And now this will be pretty quick and easy. I'm going to hit the insert key after grabbing the column header. And so Tahoma adds a new level. I'm going to go ahead and put the do a vector level. And I'm not going to relate this in any. So I'm just hitting the D key so that it duplicates the prior frame so that it just keeps adding raindrops and the other ones remain. Again, sorry, got to sneeze. That's the bad news. The good news is this does appear to be a garden variety cold. It doesn't seem to be a serious flu or anything like that. I think it's just a basic annoying cold that I'm probably going to have to live with for about a week. So I'm okay with that. There are certainly worse things that one could have to deal with. So obviously this takes a little time. Okay, I didn't like that. We'll go to, okay, and I'm also going to I'm going to make this fairly transparent so that it's not calling too much attention to itself, because it basically is probably going to want to call a lot of attention to itself, as you can no doubt imagine. But this is cool. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that is pretty easy to do. Doesn't require much talent on my part to pull it off, but it adds a lot of production value. I think I'm gonna let this one languish for like three frames. So, and obviously you're not gonna do this with a particle effect, right? Excuse me. Maybe there's a way, but I'm not aware of it, to make dots like this appear over time. So, frankly, this is a little annoying because there's so many frames I've got to do. So, a little bit tedious, But again, it will add a tremendous amount of production value to the shot. SodaProp says that the OpenToonz particle system is a beast. Well, I disagree. I think it's a very pedestrian, just okay particle system, mainly because of performance. I mean, like if you compare it to anything you could do with particles in Blender, there's, no contest. Blender is infinitely more performant, way faster. Now, obviously, you can bog it down. You can certainly make Blender perform poorly by trying to do too much, too many millions of particles or whatever. But if I was going to go deep, that's the whole point, I guess, for me, is if I'm going to go deep with particles, I'm probably going to just do it in Blender and then just comp it together. That's my opinion. Other people may disagree, but because I've tried it where you've got like with the birds I did. Okay, so over here on the show, it's right here. Nope, it's not here. Let me find it. I'll show you. I think this was done, I believe, with the bubbles effect. So this right here, he shouts up at the sky, and then we go to this shot. See the birds flying away? So that's actually bubbles, and what it is you've got, I think, if I recall correctly, we have a 3-cell sequence. I think it's a 3-drawing sequence of birds as far as their wings flapping. Okay, so it's like, let me see. It's actually 2. Looks like it's up and down. Okay, so they kind of diffuse out and they just fade into space, and it created the effect. But my point is that rendering that little thing right there, as simple as it is, was really, really slow. I mean, we're like going back to you know, the old days when rendering was always really slow. It's pretty pokey. You can take my word for it or not, but anyway. So this is going to be, just like I said, I don't want to call too much attention to it. So let's try that. Render. All right, let's see what we have. We'll go back up to here, and let's see what happens. So he sees the rain happening, and now we get a little bit of it popping down onto the floor, like so. And then we cut to this shot. Yeah, I like it. I think that's exactly what we wanted. I think we got it. I think it looks pretty good. Okay, I'm good. I think that's it for today then. I may do more later, but okay, so let me just look here at the comments before I split, before I quit, before I leave. You know, this is a pretty complex shot, really. I mean, what do we got here? About 8 or 9 levels? Probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 levels. So this last one is just a gradient so that when it renders, you get this nice, it kind of makes it pop a little bit more. Okay, so back here. Fireworks particle. Yeah, the fireworks particle, I haven't used it, but I sort of looked at it real quick. It looks like it's quite, it definitely does what it's supposed to do. Yep. Oh, and the pings allowed for more flexibility of animation. Yep. Blender and Resolve are another level. We can compare OT to like Harmony. Probably. I mean, I'm obviously not a Harmony guy, but I think the main difference is that Harmony is natively a vector-based format. You know, as far as the drawing, it's more like Flash, I think. Maybe it mixes standard pixel type drawing with vectors, I don't know. And the vectors in OpenToonz obviously are a little bit less mature, let's say, than the vectors in probably even Clip Studio Paint, actually. Certainly they're not as stable as just using Inkscape for your vector stuff. But of course it doesn't animate natively. So if I was really determined to go vector, 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 I'd be using Blender 2.9. You know, I'd be using the grease pencil. So anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in, guys. It's been a good session. Hour and a half, almost straight up an hour and a half. We've gotten, how much done have we gotten done today? How much have we gotten done today? Let's have a look. Well, we did this shot, added the rain. We did this shot completely, added the rain. So we only got about 5 seconds done. 5 seconds of completely finished rendered animation in 90 minutes is where we want to be. So with that, I will see you guys later. And